What is happening, everybody? True Evil here, and today I want to talk about Braxophone's recent review of Etheria Restart. He was mostly negative about the game, and while I do think some of the points he made were valid, other points I don't think I agree with at all, but I do see where he's coming from, so we're going to talk about those, as well as I think he didn't mention some of the actual negative parts of the game, so I'm also going to tag those along with it. So without further ado, let's just get in on it. Before we begin, I would like to point out that he mentions in the video that most people aren't speaking negatively about Etheria Restart, and that's because they are sponsored by the game. And currently, at the making of this video, I am not sponsored by the game. So just wanted to point that out in case if people aren't trusting my viewpoints in the video. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Etheria Restart free-to-play friendly? And to really get on that is we have to figure out what free-to-play friendly actually means, because every single game that comes out now says they're free-to-play friendly, but what does that actually mean? So here is a flat definition, in my personal opinion, of what a free-to-play game actually is. And that is with every other character, so every 2 characters that get released, if you play the game every day, get all your daily stuff, you should be able to pull 1 character every 2, and you should be able to get everything that goes along with that character. And in Hoyo model games, for example, they have the weapon banner. So in my opinion, in a Hoyo style game, for it to be a free-to-play friendly experience, you should be able to be guaranteed the character and weapon out of every 2. So 1 character, 1 weapon every 6 weeks. And in that regard, most Hoyo modeled games aren't free to play friendly, in my opinion. And that is because you usually get about 120 pulls. I don't know what it is now because I don't really play any of those games. But when I played them, right, the 50-50, if you lost that, there is no shot, unless if you get really lucky, that you will get the character and the weapon. So in the course of 6 weeks of playing every day, you're not guaranteed that, which I don't think that's free to play friendly at all. Now, let's look at a game that I do think is free to play friendly, which is Nikke Goddess of Victory and Etheria Restart. Now, Nikke Goddess of Victory is a really important game to talk about when talking about free to play friendly, because in Nikke, if you don't spend any money, you can pull every single character off the banner. When I played about 6 months every day. I got every character that came out. I got, I never had to worry about pulling characters in that game. But that game was bamboozled out the wazoo with microtransactions. There is a flash sale when you start playing that game. It feels like every 30 minutes to an hour while you're progressing through the story quests and the tribe tower and whatnot. And some people don't see getting slammed with flash sales as free to play friendly, but I would say it is free to play friendly. And you just have to, they're trying to test your will of, can we make this person break free to play friendly? Can we make $5 off them? And that game does that by, you have to go into the shop every day to get your daily gems or whatever from the shop. So they're building up that daily routine of clicking the shop. But if you're able to not spend money, the game is 100% free to play. Now with this game, we're looking at the model of sort of similar things, right? With we get about 20 to 30 pulls, it feels like, after you get those initial rewards every week from playing the game, if you redeem those, right? I mean, in the Union shop, you don't have to redeem getting the pulls every week. In the other shops, you don't have to redeem for the pulls. But, as a free-to-play light spender player, I'm a light spender myself, so I'm redeeming the pulls. And, I personally feel like I will definitely be able to pull 1 out of every other character if I was 100% free to play. So in that regard, I would say Etheria Restart is free to play friendly. Now, I've said why I think Etheria Restart is a free to play friendly game, but now we need to address the point of Braxophone said it was a whale's paradise, and I agree. I 100% agree that this game is also made for whales, and they add like $300 worth of top-up packs every 4 or 5 days, it feels like. So definitely a game made for whaling as well. And can a free-to-play friendly experience exist in the same game as a game that is pay to win? And I think 100% yes, because I am sort of in like a light spender mode. I'm going to buy the dollar packs. I'm going to buy the $5 packs, but I'm not going to buy like $31 for a lattice. I'm not paying $50 for pools, but I'll buy the dollar pack. I'll buy the $5 pack. And for me, I'm rated 120 in RTA. I'm 42nd highest in terms of clearing in Ember Trek. And if you want to spend $2,000 so you can like clear everything and get rank 1, like what's the difference in the rewards, right? Like I think when you clear Ember Trek, you're going to get a gold lattice, which the game sort of values at $30. So sure, I could spend $500 worth of stuff and gain $30, or I could just wait until the next reset and get all the rewards then. And that's sort of just like a vibe in like these new gacha games. Not everyone is going to clear Tower and Wuthering Waves on the very first reset, but you lose like 3 pools worth of gems or something like that. It's not the end of the world, right? And like Genshin Impact, right? There's just people who just never have done Abyss in that game. So I don't think losing out on a little bit of rewards is like the end all be all and like the sign to start doom posting a game, because people are getting gated in the same places generally. I actually do, because of that, think that this game should be a little bit more pay to win. And what I mean by that is I don't think someone who spent $5,000 on power-ups should be stuck in a similar place to someone who spent $50 on the game. And for a lot of people, it is that way. Like, people who've spent about $2,000 are stuck on the same places as free-to-play players. And in that regard, I think that's a little messed up. People are going to get mad and, think that their investment was not worth it. So in that regard, I do think what they should implement in this game is that the dupes should count double in PvE and count where they are now in PvP. So in PvE content, you're doing 20% increased damage and 20% damage reduction. And what this really is going to do is make it so if you want to spend $5,000 and not have to worry about PvE content, you can do that. And I think that's totally valid, and make free-to-play players be the ones who have to be on the struggle bus, because this sucks here, right? And sure, I'm doing 1,377 damage, which is a lot. And if I got 10% defense increase and 10% damage increase from having a max dupe holding, I would say that's 2,000 damage, right? That's not going to really make or break anything here. It's still going to take forever. So in that regard, it's just like, if someone wants to spend $500 on their Holden versus me who bought like whatever the $5 top-up pack was, then, more power to them, in my opinion. Let them not have to deal with this struggle bus. So personally, that's my view on that. You might think that's an L take, but I do think someone who spends a sixth of their total income in the year, like I would say like someone who makes $50,000, if they spent 10% of their total income of the year on a game, they should be able to clear it. I 100% think that. So, that's my take on that. And that's going to get onto the other subject, which is Braxophone talked about, is this game that was marketed as a PvP game, why is the PvE so hard? So let's talk about that. Now, we're going to talk about the point he made that the PvE content is way too overtuned. And I do agree with him. I do not think that a boss that you're supposed to continuous auto farm should be this difficult, because I'm going to be honest, I've been farming this for days, and the main thing isn't that the boss is difficult. Like, sure, of course, the first couple of runs in a hard wall content is going to be hard, but also the drops are abysmal. This Inferno Nico Nana is dropping Twilight Knights and Black Flags at this stage of the game, where that was content that you get in the first day 3 or day 4 of max stamina refreshing. We're in the I think we're in the third week of this game at this point, and you know, I'm still getting those as drops, and I need to get specific shells to move on. And at this point, we're about 2,000 stamina in on Nico Nana, and we haven't. Not only have we only gotten one usable final matrix shell, which isn't even like a good upgrade of that. We've not even gotten the upgrade versions of the red shells that we need. For example, if I can get my Holden with 3 Swift Rush, 3 Unbreakable on his Artisan shell, this is going to take significantly less time. And I can't even get that shell, right? Because I'm too busy getting Twilight Knights and Black Flags. And this fight takes me 5 to 7 minutes. And yesterday, I I put a timer for like every 30 minutes. I would go on my phone and I would click. It's like it's time to do the next run. And seeing me not pull anything usable every time is just so frustrating. So they are nerfing Nico Nana. They are going to change this to 60%, and they're nerfing Terror too. But what I think they need to do is nerf this yesterday. Like, nerf this 5 days ago, right? People have been stuck on this for a week, and like they're hard locked. Not only that, but the drop rates are so abysmal that even if they're like me and they can clear it, but it takes 5 to 7 minutes, they're not getting the upgrades they need to be able to progress to the next part of the game. And I don't want to spend 16 to 18 hours by just every 30 minutes clicking continuous battle and then seeing me get Twilight Knights. There's no reason to be getting Twilight Knights and Black Flags in Inferno shell bosses. Maybe keep the final Matrix shell drops the same, but at least give me red shells, because I'm not even getting upgrades for my red shells off of this. I'm still getting those like really awkward shells. So this Artisan shell, if this had 3 Swift Rush, 3 Unbreakable, it would make this fight last for 3 minutes. So maybe instead of me playing for 16 hours of having to refresh every 30 minutes, it would change that to 12 hours. And, is that really so much to ask for to like help me with? I don't know. So yeah, I think they really need to nerf that, and they need to nerf that now. They shouldn't wait multiple days. Just give everyone 100 gems. It's not the end of the world. So that's a huge concern. Now, the next point I want to talk about is the lack of resources, and I agree and disagree with this. I agree that there is not enough gold lattices in the game. From what I calculate, I haven't cleared Ember Trek hard yet, and I'm not going to most likely be able to clear Rally by the end of the time, because the bosses on the third area, more specifically the Dahlia and the Nico Nana, based off how my teams are looking, because I had to reset due to the difficulty of Inferno, that my team is just like not made to be such a hard version of those bosses yet. Especially because I had to reset my Leanne for Holden to be able to clear content, and I don't really have a blue TPS, but that's more of punishing me for not focusing on Rally early. But I don't think there's 12 gold lattices in a month, and I think that should be like a requirement, and like a little bit more would be good. From what I've seen, it's like there's 2 from Ember Trek, 1 for clearing hard, 1 for clearing normal, so not everyone is going to get the hard. Then there's 1, if you buy all the shards in the Union shop, that's 1 a month. I think that comes out to being 60 total. So you have 10 shards plus 1. Then in the AI arena, that's 1 every week. So that's 4. So we're rocking 7 now. We got 1 off the Dazzler Pulse event, so that's 8. You can buy the shards in the RTA shop, so that's 2,000, 4,000. You're getting 1 every 3 weeks, I would say, doing that. Or 1 every 2 weeks. 1 every 2 weeks off that, because I think it's 3,000 to buy them all. So that's 10, and then you have the leftover shards. So I guess if you do the cubic game stuff too, right? Maybe it's 12, but it's pushing it, right? I had to really think, and like even with the really thinking, there are variables in there to not get 12. I think at minimum, I should feel like I get 12 and I don't have to overthink on where everything comes from, because there are so many characters in this game. Like, even if you gave me 12 gold lattices for free, there's still going to be people who buy it, because if you're releasing 4 characters a month, then, you know, 12 only covers 25% of that. And I really think the gold lattices need to be improved. And like, for example, this weekly event, the final thing you earn is a red shadow print. And I think they should just always be a gold lattice. And the red should just be like the cool thing you get in the shop with the currency you get from the weekly event. So that's my opinion on the events. Now, I do think we get enough Etheria coin, which some people don't agree with. Some people don't think we get enough shell credits either, but I think that's actually totally fine. I think what's happening with people and not having enough Etheria coin is they're speed tuning a little too hard for a game that's been out for 3 weeks. And what I mean by that is they're abandoning like a red module at like level 9 because it didn't upgrade speed 3 times or 2 times. And I don't think we're at a point where we can do that. I think even though it does feel really mid not having like 300 speed, I think it's totally fine at this point. And sure, there's going to be people who luck sack into those good pieces, but I think you need a foundation point first, and then that coin and currency we get after the first month we use to speed check and speed tune. And I think that's going to be important, because right now we're still building a foundation, and we need to worry about that before we really start speed tuning like crazy. And of course, you want to do it now, and I understand it, but I think I did mention this game's a marathon, not a sprint, so I'm treating it like that. I want foundational modules first, and then I'll speed tune. But I do think gold lattices, they just need to be more. I think the purple is totally fine for where it is right now. It's just the gold. So hopefully they fix that, but it is what it is otherwise. Now let's talk about story, because he mentions that the story is horrible. And I would argue that I would rather there just not be story mode in this game. Of course they add it, but I'm glad that I can skip every scene and I can just jet through it, and it was just something I did in the first couple of days and I never have to do again. Sure, they're going to have upgrades for it, but you know, I understand that, like, by how popular Hoyo games have become, that people are really expecting these like really great story driven games. But I've been waiting for a PvP gacha game, right? I've not been waiting for the next Hoyo story game, because, well, the market is oversaturated with them right now. And right now, even with those games, like the thing that makes games like, oh, I love this, is a skip button. Like, I'm sorry, but if people are like, if a pro of a story game is that you can skip the story, I don't really get that, at least in my opinion. So I'm really glad you can skip the story. Like, sure, all these games have somewhat of a story, but I think of this like Arknights, right? Where, like, maybe you're into the Arknights story, but I didn't play Arknights for the story. I could care less what the story for Arknights was. It was a tower defense game, and I just played it for what I liked it for it to be. I like the gameplay, and I like Etheria because of the gameplay. And I don't think saying it has a bad story matters, because let's face it, I don't know anyone who's playing this game for the story. Now, the last thing I'm going to point out is that you need specific characters to beat content. And the most like big character on that front is Lily. It's like the Lily situation. I didn't pull Lily, so I can't do anything in the game. And I don't have Lily. And it is frustrating because when I check clears, for example, I'm at the Whitney boss for hard Ember Trek. I think that's floor 30. And, you know, I'm like, there's only like 40 people have cleared it, right? So I click the button and I'm like, let's see the clears. 38 out of 40 of them have a Lily, right? And it's incredibly frustrating because I know that if I had a Lily, I'd probably be able to clear it. But instead, I have to like level up and build my units in weird ways. And that's actually fun for me, right? I don't want a one unit I can turn my brain off, let it auto, and have a good time. I don't really like that. I like having to think about what I'm doing. The only problem with that is, though, is that the resources are scarce. Like I talked about, there's no golden lattices really to use. So because of that, it's like, because the content is so hard, I'm using unlatticed characters to try to beat it. Like, I don't even have any lattices to improve my Ling Lo because the upgrades to it are pretty minuscule. There are some really strong upgrades on Ling Lo. For example, her level 3 on her skill 1 is really substantial. But like, for example, level 2 on her skill 3, that's going to probably improve her heal by 150 HP total and give her 1,000 more HP. And at this point in the game, that's not going to do anything for me, right? So not only can I not really upgrade my units even more, it's just like I need to upgrade like specific SRs to be able to clear that content, and even then there's just not enough resources for me to 6-star a random unit just to be able to clear a certain thing. And that's a real bummer, right? Because that may mean I'm not be able to clear Ember Trek hard, and that means I'm going to not be able to get that gold lattice, and that's technically worth like $31 in the game. So losing out on $31 is definitely mid and feels bad because I need to build a specific SR. And let's see if I got anything usable. Oh my god, dude. So at this point in the game, I think they should do two things. They should either, one, give people more resources so they can actually build those SRs so they can clear content that they can't because they don't have Lily. Or two, they should have some sort of Lily banner where it's only open for like a week or something, and like there's no pity on that banner. The banner is harder to pull on than normal. For example, 100 pulls light dark. Once you pull the Lily, it's gone, and that'll make the people who are complaining you have to have Lily in the game. Hopefully it'll just make them happy, but more importantly, it'll be more difficult to get there, so like people will have to spend a whole lot of resources. So definitely will make money for the game, right? And it's a alternative to not giving us more resources to level up SRs at the first month of the game. So I would prefer to just have a little bit more resources in the first month so I could build a character like Obel or a character like Fangus to make certain things easier. Because I will build those characters, right? But like in the first month, it's just like there isn't enough resources to go around, in my opinion, because of how many specific characters you need for this end game. And, you know, 5-star isn't going to cut it for a whole lot of them. So definitely think they should either do expensive Lily banner or just give us more resources. So that's all of my thoughts, and I did agree with some of the negative stuff, and I didn't agree with all of it. I do really like this game. This is by far one of the best gacha games I've played in a long time. But the unfortunate reality is it has issues, and they are fixing them. And I am really glad about that. But the problem with that is there's just there's just too many gotcha games out for right now to be slow with things. They need to communicate quicker. They should do a whole lot of things, in my opinion. But it is what it is. And, you know, I don't think anyone really cares about what I think about this, but I do think I really like this game. I'm going to keep playing the game, but yeah, see you next time.